Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Gritz and Glitter Podcast.
What up? What
I'm
up?
Red Skip. Who you? Who you, boo?
I am Terry Dyer. And who is you, boo?
I'm Rev Skip Jennings in the house again.
Yes, we are back. We are back. And blackity black, black, black.
I love that saying, going black. Let me go black.
Yes, yes.
This is episode 11. I know.
Off for a minute.
Oh, listen, you've been doing some work. Somebody just gave a phenomenal concert, my brother. You were dope. It was so good.
I did. Thank
you.
you.
On stage again and singing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. It was, I think, just so gratifying because leading up to it, I got super, super sick and was all congested and, the usual summer cold kind of thing. So once sound check happened, there was this element of, all right, boo, you got this. And then I got a little nervous backstage when everybody was coming in and doing the thing and we were about to start. There was a couple little hiccups and people weren't arrived yet and that sort of thing. And that was supposed to speak. And I was like, It was fantastic. I was just overjoyed. The audience seemed to have a phenomenal time. I heard some tears. I heard some cheers and some call and response because that's what our people do. Yeah, it was fantastic.
I'm sorry for interrupting the show because it was all me. I was the one crying and cheering and saying, "Thank you, Lord, my brother."
Hallelujah.
I was singing behind you. I was your backup. I was there. It was me. I was the one who was interrupting the show, boo. It was wonderful. I walked away going, part of it that you actually spoke, that reel that was running of all the statements that we have heard living in Wilton Manors, all the things that I've heard, I'm looking at it and it brought me to tears. It was like, This is what we experience on a daily basis. Still experiencing. And then you have pictures of our history. You had historical photos. I'm going, This brother is bringing it. You brought it.
Thank you.
The most incredible thing is that people were saying we are now starting a conversation needs to be said. Not only starting a conversation, but we're directing the way the conversation needs to be had.
Absolutely. There were a couple of people at the end of the night that hugged me and kind of held on to me for a moment, whispered in my ear, and literally said to me, I hope this is just the start of the conversation here in our community. So that was very sort of rewarding and it humbled me to know that, because, sometimes people, especially in our community, are like, oh, Lord, she's going to get up and sing, like, it's all about her, blah, blah, blah. But people realize it wasn't that. It was the story. It was the message about empowerment and uplifting and recognizing the racism and the discrimination that happens specifically in the LGBTQ plus community. So I was very proud.
You did a phenomenal job. Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. What's been going on with you?
Well, one thing that we did not really talk about, that we literally had a birthday within like the same week. You had a birthday. I had a birthday. Well, we had birthdays, yo. We had birthdays. And I crossed the threshold and I'm very proud of it. I turned 60. And, and the great thing about me turning 60, I love when people come up and going, I would have never known. I would have never known. It was a powerful week for me. And, it's part of the new brand that I'm putting out there. How do you thrive past 50? Because there's a lot of people who get to 50 and they go, okay, life is over. But no, life is just beginning. I'm giving tools in this new book. It's called Timeless Transformation, 10 Steps for Thriving Past 50 or 50 and older. We're still working on that. So I was really in tune with what I was feeling. And this book started 10 years ago. I started writing this book 10 years ago. It's taken me 10 years to get to the final edit. And now I'm going to get more eyes on it. And hopefully it'll be done by Christmas time. Make a great Christmas present for your mamas, for your daddies, for your
You're
brother.
stocking stuffer. You're stocking stuffer.
You know what I'm saying? So it was a powerful time for me, a powerful week. And thank you. We got to share each other's birthday. I went to dinner with you at Lips, and you came down to eat tapas for my little celebration. And it was a wonderful experience of love and family. Because you're my brother. If you don't know
That's
that, you're
right.
my brother. You're my brother.
That's right. From another mother. Brother from
That's
another
it.
mother.
Speaking of brothers, what we got? What we got? What's happening?
So I'm just gonna say,
Okay.
because he done spoiled the surprise and
Oh,
brought up, what was my
sorry.
did you know for
Sorry.
today's segment. I was going to really bring to the forefront, let the people know that's out there in podcast land, right? That we had two amazing back-to-back birthday celebrations. That was my did you know? That was my did you know? So,
oh my God. I'm sorry.
yeah. I think it's so incredibly important to acknowledge, right? Like everyone has a birthday. Everyone gets that one special day to celebrate themselves. And I just want to, sort of give you your flowers a little bit, because 60 is one of those monumental ages, right? Like you're moving into another decade. You're healthy, you're fabulous, you're working, you're grinding. Like this is what it looks like to be Black, gay, 60. You're doing it in such an elevated, incredible way that y'all out there in podcast land, y'all need to take note. This is what we are striving to. Those of us that are younger, 60 like the new 50, 50's like the new 40, and so forth and so on. So that was my did you know?
Oh, whatever. Thank you. I love you. I received that. Yeah. I receive all of that. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. So we did some big things in the month of June. Yeah, and I'm glad we took a little time off to just breathe and celebrate each other.
Yes. Indeed.
That was important. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for my flowers. I receive.
Yes, y'all heard that, right? He got a little music too. He received, right? Yes. He got that too.
Yes.
We got a little special guest joining us today.
Yes.
We do. I'm so excited. This brother, I met him in South Florida, Wilton Manors. I think we officially maybe originally met through people, probably at a bar. You know how it is in our community, right? But this man is so bad. Like he is just rocking. He's rolling. He's setting the standard of what it means to overcome obstacles. He's a bad mofo on the tennis court. I am proud to call him friend. So why don't we, I think we're about to bring on my good buddy, my good man, Kemit-Amon Lewis. Welcome to it, brother man.
Happy to be here with you guys.
Yes, welcome to the Gritz and
Glitter. I kind of think I know you because I've seen your many videos. You have some videos on YouTube, and you are truly an inspiration.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I guess I've heard that word quite a bit, and interestingly enough, I guess we'll get to the backstory. But a number of people have approached and said, I don't think I could have done it. And, it's one of those things where like, until you're faced with it, you never know. And I think a lot of people will surprise themselves with what they would be able to accomplish and overcome if they were faced with the situation. And I don't know, I guess I see this new chapter as a new purpose, and I'm walking into it with my head high.
And so for our listeners and our viewers, they're probably going, what situation did he go through? Because they might not have seen the video. You want to give us a little bit of what you went through?
Yeah, so the cliff notes of the story. I'm supposed to be writing this book also, apparently, as everyone has said. So in 2019, dinner with my dad for his birthday, and the night before, the next day I woke up not feeling well, went to acute medical care. It turns out I had this bacterial infection that I had not known about. It's likely backtracking from our harbor back home on St. Croix in the Virgin Islands with boaters not doing what they're supposed to do with their waste. Long story short, that bacterial infection, because I had no idea that it existed, turned into septic shock. And the ER doctors on St. Croix told my friends and family to come and say their goodbyes because I wasn't going to make it through the night. As all things good would have it, a nurse friend saw a good friend of mine in the hospital. He explained that I was there. She immediately ran upstairs to an ICU nurse and brought her down to the ER, and they worked to get me airlifted to South Florida. And that's how I ended up at Broward Health. And it ended up just staying there because I was close to the prosthetic companies. So because of the septic shock, because it had the vasopressors that were administered to keep me alive deprived my limbs of oxygen to give it to my organs. I ended up becoming a quadruple amputee out of the experience. I was in a coma for 2 weeks when I was airlifted up, and I woke up from the coma to the head doctor, Dr. Hamilton. She's an amazing woman, but she said, we're going to get you back to diving, back on the dance floor, and back on the tennis court. And I trusted her. I was like, all right, you know better than I do, so I will trust you. Yes. And so she said, I've been diving again. I'm a marine scientist, and so that part is important to me. I've been diving since high school. I used to teach dance part-time, and I performed with our company back in St. Croix maybe 2 years after everything happened, and I'm back on a tennis court. I just returned from a tennis tournament in Italy.
Oh my goodness. We need applause on this. Applause.
Yes. So I also want to back up real quick too and let the folks know that's watching out there in YouTube land and listening to wherever they get their podcast listens on. Kemit, I want to tell them a little bit about you as well. I know they caught a little glimpse as you told us your story, and thank you so much for sharing your story and being here with us today. But Kemit was born and raised on the island of St. Croix, United States Virgin Islands. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Marine Science from Savannah State University. He later got his master's in Marine Sciences from SSU. He has an administrative living Marine Resource Cooperative Science Center as well. Upon returning, he worked for the University of Virgin Islands and the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, Division of Coastal Zone Management. I don't know what the hell that is, child, but it sounds fancy. All I'm reading is the girl is smart. She's smart. That's what I'm reading, right? So, in addition to that, and I know y'all just heard this.
And there's an addition to that.
Yes. So he also started dancing at St. Croix Central High School under the direction of the amazingly talented Lisa Linhart. He then danced with several and served as president and instructor for the Savannah State University Dance Ensemble and trained with a number of schools and dance intensives. He has been on tour in numerous concerts and production of The Wiz. He's done performed in Caribbean community theaters, Chicago. He was the Rat King. Come on, the Rat King in Point Dance Academy's The Nutcracker Ballet. Y'all heard that. He's a black ballet dancer.
Like a black opera singer that we know. Like we know a black opera singer too.
That's right. He can sing, he dives, he plays tennis. As he just mentioned, he is also a quadruple amputee since 2019 when he had his health very, very scary health scare. He has returned to his first love, which is tennis, playing competitively as a para-standing tennis athlete, and is a Wilson 360 athlete. Now, I want us to talk about that when the time comes. Yeah, so this is our friend Kemit-Amon Lewis, y'all.
Applause.
Yeah.
I do have one question to ask you, brother. I got one question to ask you. Why they closing the Wiz so early on Broadway? Because I hear my niece just went to it and said it was fabulous. Listen, my family, many of them have gone to see it, said it was amazing. I'm like, they closing the Wiz before I can go see it.
Yes, yeah, we should write a letter.
Let's write a letter. Let's write a letter.
No, this is an hour podcast, but we should write a Karen letter too.
Yes.
Not a Karen letter. He said Karen letter. Oh,
I love
Lord.
it. I love it.
Let's blame it on the Karens.
Anyway.
So, y'all, we got to get into the Did You Know? We already had one Did You Know, but thank you. I got my flowers and the Did You Know? Yeah. But this is a great conversation. The Did You Know? Because a lot of people don't know this. I know a few years back we were talking about what was going on in Africa, and we were talking about what was going on in Uganda. In May, the Uganda government just released a bill or just passed a bill where they will put penalties on those LGBTQA Black folks who are just wanting to love who they're wanting to love, even to the penalty of death. And I knew it was happening, but I thought we were making a turn. I was hoping that we were going to actually, get beyond this. But as of right now, this bill is so extreme that we have activists, worldwide global activists, that are actually going to Uganda to protest. This is how extreme it is. Y'all, when is it going to stop? Is it going to stop?
It's not. I am all about hope and not, sort of diminishing the fact that we have to kind of hold hands and work together to move needles forward. But listen, I'm also a realist, and I feel like we keep the moment we take steps forward, we immediately take 4 or 5 backwards in our society. It doesn't matter if it's the United States, Uganda, Europe. We are constantly moving backwards over and over again. So I don't know. The hope that I typically have, it's lessening every single day now.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because it's not just Uganda. I mean, Roe versus Wade, for example.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Right. US, we're what a superpower. There's, the elections in France isn't looking good for the current sitting president, and it's either far right or far left that's going to be in power next, and their far right is similar to our far right here in the U.S. And there's a lot of reminders of I can speak for us here in the U.S. Like the country essentially wasn't created for all of us, and we're that's us black people, but all these other groups, these minority groups that are facing the brunt of it, that reminder that this country was not, y'all messed up and you didn't buy one-way tickets, and so we're here. That's
right.
That's how I feel about it. Just about everything that is American culture was created by Black Americans, and so.
Speak on it.
It's one of those things where this is the land that we created, literally, and there has to be, we're allowing everyone or encouraging freedom for everyone, and it's insane that those freedoms are attempted to be stripped from us. But
that's right.
I remember this is during the George Floyd murder, the lynching of George Floyd, and call it what it is. I remember this meme that was going all over social media, and it was a picture of an indigenous brother next to an enslaved ancestor. And it said, this country was built on land that was stolen by people that were stolen from their land. And I'm like, ooh.
That's right.
Wow, that's real talk. And I remember Marianne Williamson, which I believe she's one of our spiritual leaders. She's also running for president. And I'm like, okay, go another round. I'm whatever. And she said something. I remember it being in one of her spiritual meetings on a Monday night. She says that we will never, ever heal this country or any country if we're not willing to have a real honest conversation about reparations and how to make it right. What Europe does, and they're one of the most progressive, inclusive places, actually in Germany, they admit we did some messed up crap with the Holocaust. We're not going to put up a statue, but we're going to not deny it. And we're going to say, yes, it happened. And yes, we messed up.
Right.
So I'm hoping that this will. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, brother. Go.
No, I'm just going to say, I think it's a level of accountability, right? Like, we don't typically like to talk about what's so negative and so like, oh, that, yeah, it happened, but we don't talk about it, right? But that's the problem. We do need to talk about it. Yeah, we do need to continue to acknowledge the fact that, you know, the Holocaust happened, that slavery happened. And we are now in a space where we're going kind of back to those days, right?
We're
like,
trying to.
We have to. We're right. Like we're trying to be open and honest about that. Call a spade, right? Like that's what it is. We're heading back in that direction, and we're in a world of trouble. Like I don't know how else to put it. We're in a world of trouble. The fact that we don't hold people accountable, we're not drawing attention to what's really happening. We're doing what we've talked about before, Skip, where you know, various cultures, especially in Black and brown communities, we typically sweep things under the rug. I feel like that's what we're now doing as a society as a whole. We're trying to sweep these things under the rug. Racism doesn't exist, so we move further. We've done. Come on.
In the words of Whoopi Goldberg, Molly, you in trouble, girl.
Dude, you in danger, girl.
You in danger, girl. You in danger, girl.
Danger, girl. We are in danger. In serious trouble.
We are. Oh my goodness. Well, that was a powerful. Did you know?
Yeah. Well,
to double back to your did you know?
The first thing that came to mind when you mentioned it was there's an interview with Maya Angelou and James Baldwin. I think it's resurfaced recently.
Yes.
And I think I saw it just yesterday on my feed, and I think there was something beautiful said about to love somebody but not be able to express that love is like killing yourself. And there's that the words aren't exactly those, but yeah, I think it's worth pulling up and looking into if you haven't seen it. But it's a really beautiful article about just love, and that's it.
Powerful.
Side of the labels and just being free in this world to experience life and love without question.
Yeah.
Did y'all ever see that movie, I'm Not Your Negro?
Of course. Absolutely.
That is such one of my favorite documentaries, one of my favorite stories of James Bowman. I am not your Negro.
That's right. That's right.
Powerful.
Let's shout out one of our sponsors, the amazing AA Brokerage. We'd like to shout out to one of our most amazing advertisers in Cooper-Stein-Metz Enterprises, a brokerage firm that carries your trust. Do you hear me? They carry your trust. They are one of the world's largest and fastest growing third-party logistics worldwide. They are based in the amazingly hot Palm Springs, California, and transport all of your freight. You can reach out to them if you need some of your things transported across the country or into any space at 209-213-7091. And their website is AABrokerageinc.com. Again, that is AABrokerageinc.com. And I know it's scrolling across the screen because our production person is fabulous, and we want to make sure that you've got all of their information to reach out to Cooper-Stein-Metz Enterprises. Yes. Thank y'all for supporting Grits and Glitter.
Thank you. And shout out to our production person, Adam. I don't have to do all the knobs and stuff this week and missing what Terry's saying. I'm so grateful.
We got a production person now, y'all.
See, we expanded.
Hello?
I love it.
Growth. We call it growth.
I love it. So I love, Terry, when we're talking about this, we just came off, and Kim, and I'm not sure what you experienced for Pride, but it was an intense Pride month. I mean, the whole month, we just like, boom, we're running. And we were really conscious, and we talked about this on our Pride episodes, how often, companies will be, I call that once a year ally. and you change your logo and things are what happens the year after? So we're kind of talking about Pride, and later on we're going to kind of get into how we can continue. But right now I want to recap our Pride. How was your Pride, Kemit?
Yes.
What happened? What did you do? What was your energy? What did you do?
I don't have much to share actually. I was deep in. I literally moved from South Florida to Maryland on June 1st, and this.
Were you in Baltimore? In Baltimore?
In Chevy Chase, just next to Silver Spring. My office is in Silver Spring now. That's hence the move. But I literally back in Florida that following weekend, and then in Paris and Turin the next 2 weekends. And so that I've just made it back. And my Pride this year for me was looking at all you guys having a good time online.
You had your own personal Pride. You were like, okay, this is my Pride.
Yeah, mine is 360. So I am. I was raised on St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Caribbean island, with a lot of pride about who I am as a Crucian, but it transcends, everything. I remember I had a hard time with a former former supervisor who talked about luck and all that good stuff. I was like, you don't become a Black marine scientist by luck. You don't get into the job that I got into by luck. I think it was talking about a photograph that won a photo contest. Like, oh, you were lucky. I'm like, no, I put myself in that place, and I had my camera and I had my gear to take that shot. So I think a big part of me growing up there is being super driven and having a lot of pride in who I am as a person. And, it goes beyond any one part, but marine scientist, tennis player, dancer, dance instructor, guy who likes other guys, like all of that is like me, who I am every day of the year. So.
Yes. Listen, I am always, and he knows this because I'm always commenting on his social media and stuff. Like, this man, I hope y'all, I'm trying to get the listeners out there to understand how bad this young man is, right? Like, he is all over the world. He's speaking at universities about overcoming, trauma and hurdles and things that happen. That to me is a level of pride, right? He's taking pride in the fact that he was faced with something and that he had to overcome. He didn't let it stop him. He went out and continued to conquer. He went out and continued to succeed. He went out and became an inspiration for all of us, right? Like, that to me is pride. Yeah. That to me is pride. So I'm always commenting on his. I'm so proud. I'm such a proud friend. Look at him beating people up on the clay court in Italy and in the indoor over here. Like, that's my friend, y'all. That's my friend.
And I think one of the important things, and I shared, so I do a fair bit of peer mentorship with new amputees, for example. When I spoke to, so that opportunity was with Dillard University, and I got to speak to the full freshman student body, but also spent some time on the tennis court with the tennis team and put my gear on and actually got to hit with the tennis players. And so there's, I guess, something to be said, especially for those that are like, I don't know how I would have done it. And I've heard that quite a bit. There's so many doors that have actually opened for me since that it's one of those things where, like, if you can find a way to, like, take those lemons and, not just lemonade, but some like spiked vodka, some kind of lychee lemonade, something like that's been my approach to it. I love, like,
spiked vodka. I love it.
Nobody wants basic lemonade. Like, come on.
Yes.
Wait, you're in Baltimore with all the black folks. You're not a brown liquor brother?
No, I'm a rum guy. Well, I'm from the Caribbean.
But is it white rum or brown rum?
All of the above. And blackstrap is my favorite. Crucian rum makes it best. Blackstrap rum makes it best. Dark and stormy is just tossing that out there. But like the thing with Wilson, like, that would not have existed if if I hadn't become an amputee. And yeah, it's been work. I had to remind a friend who was depressed about some stuff. I was like, every single day, I wake up, I put the leg on, I get in, go to the shower, I take the leg off, I get out the shower, put the leg back on, I get dressed, I change it to a different one. Fortunately for me, I have some prostheses that have built me a leg for walking, one for running, playing tennis, and one for diving. I'm like scuba diving again with this leg that was made specifically for that. It has taken work to get used to navigating this new life, but as I mentioned, there's like so many doors that have opened since. And if, I appreciate the opportunities to come and talk, but I love the opportunities to come and do as well. So it was great to talk to the tennis team, but to put the racket on and to hit with them. And I think, people say a lot of stuff, especially with the invention of social media. Like everybody's an expert in everything. But it's a different thing when you can be on a court and see somebody navigating life a little bit differently, but holding their own with you. And so that's been my thing. Like I love to go and do. And if you can look at a video and take inspiration from that to live your life, I think we're all going through stuff. Plus it's visible, others it's not. We all have our challenges, but life can be a beautiful thing if you want it to be a beautiful thing, and you just have to be the one that navigates your own destiny in that. So.
Snapshot.
I love it. I love it.
Kirby, Terry, you went on a trip you were in one town, you got on a plane, and then you ended up in our pride in Wilton. How'd you do multiple prides in like a weekend? What did you do? You were on a plane. I was like, you were at one pride, and then you were at our pride.
I didn't do anything but make myself extremely exhausted. That's what I did. I spent the week before my birthday, I spent that week in Columbus, Ohio. I was there for 2 speaking engagements. One, I was a keynote speaker for a global diversity or DEI sports tournament, sports conference. I was their keynote speaker. I literally got on the plane on really early Saturday morning, landed at 12 o'clock, had a speaking engagement with the National Task Force for the Teachers Union at 1:30, then came home, quick changed, or took the dog out and ran to our pride at 3 o'clock. So, and then I was at our pride for the rest of the day until like 1 o'clock in the morning. So needless to say, I was exhausted. I will tell you, our pride in Wilton Manors in South Florida was great. I had a good time. It was nice to see. I actually had, one of my closest, dearest friends from San Francisco was here with the teachers union. So I got to spend time with him, and then really ended up spending the rest of the night with a lot of the members of the teachers union, and just talking and understanding the challenges that they are facing as educators in this current political climate that we have. And so that was all great. I was beyond impressed with the Stonewall Columbus Pride. And I know we shouted out the executive director of Stonewall Pride, Denzel Portis, during one of our episodes recently. That organization kills it. They had 500,000 people at their pride. What?
That's huge.
I was like, get me out of here. That's too many people. It was an amazing time. It was an amazing time. I will say something incredibly scary happened the night before I left. We were out and there were gunshots that fired off in front of the club that we were in. And so everyone ran inside, the club and kind of hid out until, we made sure that it was safe. So that was a little scary. And then, of course, I know we'll talk about it in a few moments. New York Pride was just this past weekend, and something extremely horrific happened there, which I know we'll talk about. But that's where I was. Pride was that whole week was insane in Columbus. Shout out to Columbus and all the incredible people that I met. I met some amazing people that really just they were humbling. They were inspirational as well. Some young kids at one of the the talks that I was at coming up and sharing their story, and how they're trying to navigate being young and gay, and some of the trials and the challenges that they receive from family members or people that even look like us, right? So it was such a week for me, an emotional week to say the least.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah. I was glad to take a break. It's like a day. Actually, I didn't even get to break because I had to run right into rehearsal after I got back.
I know, right? You're preparing for a concert.
Yeah.
My pride was in between. I would say it was in between Kim and in between you and I actually did 2 online events for 2 different spiritual communities that really wanted to focus in on how spirituality and pride intertwined. And part of, I believe, the spiritual movement of pride is understanding that there's nothing wrong with you. You're divine. You're love. You're created from love. And you're here to express yourself the unique way that God showed up to bring you onto this planet. In fact, how boring it would be if everyone was straight and white. How boring would it be? I don't think we would have.
You want my political answer, or do you want my...
I don't think we have rock and roll. We definitely would have fried chicken.
Can you imagine life without fried chicken?
Oh my God. But one of the things that I came up with in part of the talk, and I hope I can record it. We call it right now. I do acronyms. I've shared on the show. I experienced a severe case of dyslexia. I'm not a dyslexic. I experience it. So where everything is a challenge for me learning. And I realized, acronyms is my friend. So I created an acronym for PRIDE to stand for power, resilience, integration, determine, empowerment. So when we look at what pride really is, we have the power and we have moved forward in resilience to integrate, and we're determined to see it so that all may be empowered. And if we look at, there is a spiritual meaning behind pride. We talked about this. The colors of the pride flag, well, not the new flag, because there's a new flag now, but the colors of the pride flags is associated with the chakra system, which is a part of the spiritual energy zone. So there is definitely this connection of spirituality and our pride movement. And I spoke at event at Agape International Spiritual Center online. I spoke on Inside Timer for a pride event, and it was interesting. We had over 150 people at the Inside Timer event, the live event for pride, and there was 40 people at the Agape experience. So people are looking to integrate spirituality into our LGBTQA experience. And I think that's huge about pride. I believe we got to come out of the closet as spiritually minded people, like we come out of the closet as LGBT. We got to come out. I'm a spiritual man. I'm a reverend. I happen to be gay and black, but I'm a reverend and I am still, who I am. So that was my pride.
Don't you think a lot of us LGBTQ folks, we grow up in some form of religion, right? Like our parents sort of push that on us when we're young, or raise us Catholic, or raise us Jehovah's Witness, or raise us, all these different religions, right? So we're introduced to it at an early age. We just reach a point where we have to figure out if it works for us or not, right? Like I think I've also talked about where I don't consider myself, I was born and raised in the church, but I don't consider myself religious by any means. I consider myself spiritual. That religion, what it did was give me a foundation to determine what level of spirituality works for me, right?
Yes, I love it.
So I feel like what you're talking about with respects to us kind of figuring out how LGBTQ crosses back into that spirituality, I feel like I think a large portion of us grew up in that world. We just kind of have a problem with it now, realizing what the Bible says and what all of that stands for and how they're using religion to combat homosexuality now.
But you made an important distinction, and Rev, I'll let you chime in, but you made an important distinction between religion and spirituality, and many people don't recognize the difference between the two. And I'll agree with you. I was raised Roman Catholic. primary school up until 8th grade was Catholic school, and then I had a decision to go to Catholic school for high school or the public high school, and I ran in the other direction, mainly because I had a scuba club on a marine science program. And I knew that that's where I was going. So I went to this public high school that had a scuba club. Like, who does that? But I think, I think a lot of people just really don't know the difference between spirituality and religion. And I think that they're getting to spirituality through the church and through one of these religious groups, but don't realize that there is a difference. And sitting in a church and paying tithes and eating communion doesn't necessarily equate to anything related to spirituality. And then there's the other part of, like, I was named Kemit-Amon for a reason. Kemit's the original name of Egypt. Amon was one of the gods in Egyptian history. And so there's that other aspect of, there's a whole section of the Black community that that prays to our ancestors, as opposed to what the Roman Catholics told us that we should be praying to. And so there are these different nuances, and you kind of have to find your own lane and embrace it. But I think going back to the original thought, that separation of religion and spirituality is important. And I guess you could get one from the next, but it's not.
Yeah. Listen, I ain't got to say anything. You just preached, my brother. Right now, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to actually talk about how do we carry on this pride energy throughout the rest of the year. Y'all, we'll be right back. Hey there, I'm Rev Skip Jennings, and I invite you to join me for a day of transformation, rejuvenation at the Soul Harmony Retreat. Experience the power of yoga, meditation, and holistic wellness on July 20th in the beautiful setting of Wilton Manors, Florida. Discover deeper self-awareness, healing, emotional spiritual connection, and a community of like-minded souls. This retreat is designed to support your empowerment. Reconnect with your inner self and embrace your true potential at the Soul Harmony Retreat. I look forward to seeing you there. And we're back. And welcome back. We are talking about pride. We're talking about pride, and how do we carry this question of how do we carry pride into July and August and September, October, November, December? What are some of the ways y'all know that we can continue to keep pride alive? And I know it's easy to say, well, I do it every day because I'm out. And then people say, do you go to gay bars? I say, well, if I go to a bar, it's going to be automatically gay because I'm there. So it's like, so, but what can we give information to the rest of the people who are listening and corporations that might be tuning in? What can we do?
Well, I got a lot to say. So, so what I'm gonna say first is if you corporations or organizations are listening, understand that supporting and being an ally doesn't start on June 1st and it doesn't end on June 30th. If you are an ally, you are an ally 365 days of the year. Don't become an ally and put your rainbow flag up in your window or put your t-shirts in Target or I said it.
You in trouble.
Don't do that.
I love it.
Don't do that.
Speak the words. Speak the word.
Find partnerships. Find organizations to support that are building and providing resources to LGBTQ youth, that are providing resources for mental health in the LGBTQ plus community, that are doing things for medically to take care of LGBTQ communities. That's how you support and you show as an ally 365 days a year, right? And for us in the LGBTQ community, I think we do show pride all year long. We just decide, not that we need another reason to party and drink. Let's be real. That's what That's also June 1st through June 30th. It's just the moment for us to be half naked running down the street. And let's be real, it is what it is, right?
Unless you're doing the community work, you like yourself and myself, exactly. and we're doing community work, so we know that that's going to be designated to really speak about it, but we're living it.
That's right. That's right. So I don't know. This particular subject, it holds such a deeply rooted place in my spirit and my heart to talk about the importance of pride all year long. Skip and I just wrote an incredible article for our partners. Shout out to Out SFL in South Florida, Broward County. For promoting this article, right? That really truly talks about the importance of embracing pride all year long, not just when it's convenient for corporate America or when it's, and this is the other big piece to me. Chad, now see, I told y'all, don't let me talk first. Don't let me talk first. Here's the other piece to this pride thing, right? Let's not forget where pride started, right? Let's not forget that it was our Black trans brothers and sisters that was at the forefront, right? Fighting, because the way that we treat that part of those folks in our community now, it's like they are treated as second-class citizens by their own people, right? So let's be clear. And my new favorite word over the last 6 months, intentional.
Intentional.
Right. All right, I'm gonna step up. I'm gonna step off my soapbox.
Okay. Duh. You know what that noise is? That's Terry stepping off his soapbox.
I thought it was the Law and Order SVU.
That's he's stepping off your soapbox.
Yeah, no, I'll add to that. And, Terry, you hinted on it, but, for most of us, just continue to be that example that the younger generation needs to see. And so, I was doing an interview recently for a tennis thing. And I was like, Wimbledon for me was on my couch as a young kid watching HBO and seeing Wimbledon. And it's because I saw Laurie McNeil and Shonda Rubin and when I got older. I saw the articles with Arthur Ashe, Althea Gibson, and that's how tennis even became a thing for me, because I saw us doing it. And I think the more that we can do that, I have some young Black marine scientists from St. Croix that have their bachelor's in marine science because they met me back in the day and I took them scuba diving. And so I think the more that we can just live our lives and let that be what people see in its most authentic way, that that's the way we can show pride and encourage the youth that there are opportunities, and whatever you want to do, you can be badass with it because you have examples of others that have done it before.
And shout out to Coco Gauff.
Right.
The first number 2 since Serena, Black and beautiful and unapologetic. And I watch her, I'm going, wow, here we go. This is it. And this is the same feeling that I got when I first saw Serena and Venus play. I was like, it's somebody who's killing it on the court that looks like me. That's the reason why I got into tennis. And now it's like Wimbledon, the first, round that happened,
today's day one.
Day one. And I'm like trying to do my work, write my book, and it's up on my TV. I'm like, I'm not missing this. And so I got into tennis because of Black women.
Yep.
And then you get into the history and Arthur Ashe and Althea Gibson, you go into the history of it and find out we've been here. We've been part of this for so freaking long. And,
I think what's the beautiful thing about it, and there are some of the younger guys that are coming up in the same, like Yannick Sinner is, Carlos Alcaraz. You can tell every time you hear Coco Gauff speak that she was raised by beautiful people. At her age, to have her mindset about it not just being about her. She was one of the first voices during the George Floyd movement to publicly say we need to do something different. And she, just the character that she has. I was fortunate to meet her dad in Australia at the Australian Open January this year. We're gonna start chit chatting about stuff about Coco Golf, but they did an amazing job. The same with Venus and Serena. When you listen to them speak, the things that Venus stood for early on for equal pay for women playing this.
Yes,
there's a lot of similarities that I see between all of the folks that look like us that play tennis, and in the way that they've not just allowed for the sport to bring something to them, but to really open doors for other people and to transcend beyond tennis also, because that's a big thing that Serena and Venus did.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think your little one's trying to get into the conversation. Your little one said, "What about me, Daddy?" As it's shaking his tail and stuff. And I'm really appreciative of how Billie Jean might have, a lesbian woman might have started this movement, but we're making sure that it's being carried on through Serena. She's still fighting. Venus is still fighting. And speaking of that, there is a new documentary on ESPN that's coming out July 10th. We should be getting a payback for this.
Hello?
It's all about Serena. We should be getting a sponsorship.
Hello,
ESPN sponsor.
Just saying.
But yeah, the new documentary about Serena, in her own words, she produced it, she wrote it, and the history of tennis is deep.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
I think those are two of the biggest people that have revolutionized a predominantly white sport, right? Like, as Kemit mentioned, we were there. Every few years there was another up and coming African American player that really took it to another level, and then another one came along and took it to another level, right? Then it became this phenomenal story of two young Black girls from one of the roughest, toughest cities in this country, in Compton, California. That story is really, and the way that they did it, right? The way that they went about playing the sport, right? It wasn't about what was, done historically. It wasn't about, you can't not have them play juniors. They have to come to the ranks like everybody else, right? They decided how to raise good people. Their parents did, right? They basically said, we're going to learn this sport. We're going to turn our children into players to earn money. Really, that's what it was about, right? They want to, take care of their family and earn some money, right? But to have two, I hope people understand exactly how deep that runs, right?
Yeah.
Usually we've got one athlete that's changing the narrative in a sport, Tiger Woods, right? There were two in the same sport, and they happen to be siblings. Understand the level of like magnitude that is for a sport that has predominantly, shielded from people that look like us, right? I can go, y'all know, I can go on and on about the Williams sisters and about
here's the thing, King Richard, he said, she's going to be the first, talking about Venus, but Serena's going to be legend. And in the documentary, I saw a little bit of the documentary, the clip that, Serena goes, "I'm so glad Venus went first."
Absolutely. I saw that.
Ready to be the first. She was not ready to be the first.
I saw that. And you know what? If you really truly think about that, I love Serena. Listen, she is clearly the GOAT. What that woman has done, I will always be, even though I think she needs to retire now, but I digress. I will always be a Venus boy. Like, I am 6'2", her wing, like I'm just like her. Kemit can attest to this. I am just like her on a court, right? I move like gazelle, like Venus does. And I just have this kindred spirit with her, right? We're 2 days apart in age. Her birthday's the 17th, mine is the 19th. We had a moment, over 10 years ago where we were flirting at a tennis tournament. Like, yeah, like I have a special bond with her, right?
You had that moment, and now you play like Venus.
I did have that moment.
I love it.
Can you imagine
Let me know. Does he play like Venus?
Yeah. I'll go into detail, but it was in the same 11 outfit, but but yeah, there are moves like Venus on the court. and especially after the net, like you're not getting anything past Terry Dyer at the net. So no. You can try.
Look, that's your brother for real. That is your brother. He ride or die with you. Yeah, he plays like Venus.
Right. I mean, you did hear what he said first, right? It's the outfits. Like I change during the process of playing.
No, you don't. Like,
do
you?
I do. Yeah, I take a layer off. I take the pants off. Like I do.
Do you come on the court with your earphones on? Do you wear your earphones? No, you don't. No.
And it won't even be a match. We'll just be practicing or scrimmaging or whatever. I got ear pods in. I'm warming up. I'm 100%.
Oh my 100%. Goodness. I'm coming to watch you play when the season opens again. I'm coming to watch you play just to see this. I just got to see this.
Do it.
I love it. Oh
my goodness.
So listen,
Terry, I was going to say, sir. Can we really tell the story of what happened in New York so our listeners who don't know what happened in New York, and then we'll go to the next segment. But I think we just need to bring to mind, because something happened in Baltimore too. There was a chemical thing that went off in Pride in Baltimore. There were things that happened this year, in this time and date that we're still dealing with.
Yeah. You know, I will say this before we get into this horrific story about what happened at Pride. I want to say this past weekend, so the 28th, 29th, 30th weekend, you know, it's kind of obviously the end of Pride Month. And so it culminates with two of the largest Pride celebrations in San Francisco, California, as well as New York City. And if I'm not mistaken, I have never been to New York. I don't know if either one of you have been to New York Pride before.
I've been many times. I used to live in New York. I went to NYU. That's one of my favorite prides in the world. So this is why.
Yeah. And so shout out to those two. I heard both Pride celebrations were fantastic. Sounds like San Francisco's Pride went off without a hitch, thankfully. Very excited to hear that. Unfortunately, that was not the same for New York City. So the way that I understand the story is there is a 20-year-old man recovering from multiple gunshots near Washington Square Park in New York City. Shots were fired around 1-2 o'clock in the morning after fights broke out. There were multiple fights, and I understand the story to be women were fighting women, men were fighting men. It was a knockdown, drag-out brawl for all intents and purposes. And then bullets started flying. So there was one particular man who was shot multiple times. I understand that he is in the hospital, trying to recover. 22 people were arrested.
And this was after the Pride event had closed down, or?
So it was basically the Pride celebrations and stuff were kind of closed down around 11, 12 o'clock at night, but people were still out partying and celebrating and that sort of thing. And so I didn't read or understand like why people were fighting, but people said it was, and I've talked to a few friends like in New York. I've talked to people that have watched newscasts in New York. People said, when I say it was knockdown, drag down fights, it was women slamming women's heads on concretes, people dragging people by their hairs. Like it was such a heightened environment and situation. That's sad. That's really sad to end such a joyous occasion with such negativity. And apparently there were about, there was drones. Police had drones all over. There were about 15,000 officers that were there. There were barricades and barriers in place, but clearly this happened. Wow. This happened at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, our prayers go out to anybody who was hurt, harmed. This is not the spirit of pride. So, first of all, I just, from a place of heart of compassion and love, we're sending out healing from Grits and Glitter. We believe that it is, love is love is love. We wear T-shirts to say that all the time. And so this is in the polar opposite of what we're trying to bring together. But I want to say this is that we got to keep saying these stories because they're still happening. They're still happening in what's supposed to be positive events. We're still having violence and we're still having these issues where we need to understand that there needs to be, another way. We need to find a new way of coming together. And this is the reason why I'm grateful that I did not go out, because I did everything online. I stayed at home, and after it was done, boom, because I've seen people get overly inebriated. And I'm wondering if that was a part of the reason why. Not saying it's giving an excuse, but was there alcohol or drugs involved? Do you know, Terry?
I don't know. I read 2 articles so far, and neither article talked about the cause of the fight. Right. And I'm pretty sure that I would say they're probably still trying to gather information and figure out what actually happened and what was the cause of it. But, again, like you just said, this happens a lot when there's, alcohol and drugs involved,
Yeah. Well, our prayers go out and we keep on praying and we keep on praying.
Absolutely.
And we keep on praying.
Absolutely. So as we start coming to a close of this episode of Grits and Glitter, episode 11, who is making a difference for you, brother?
Who's making a difference? Well, I want to shout out, and I have my notes right here, so I don't front. I got my notes because I'm at the age of 60. I don't care anymore. I don't care. I got my notes. When I was doing podcasting, I've been doing podcasting for literally since I was 30 years old. Do you remember Blog Talk? Do you remember Blog Talk radio where you used to have to call in the phone? Oh, be quiet, you. You had to call in the phone. The first podcast, we had to do it over a phone. And it went out over a phone. Right, Kemit? Remember that?
Nope.
Nope. Y'all just pushed me out to the bus.
I turned 40.
You pushed me out to the bus. You ran over me.
Yes, thank you.
You ran over me twice.
Sorry.
Anyway, look up Blog Talk Radio.
I love you, but you on your own, brother.
I guess it's better than Morse code for podcasts.
Whatever. Y'all ain't right. I want to bring a shout out today to her name is Sarah McBride, and Sarah McBride is the first transgender woman to have a seat in the Delaware Senate. She was been there since 2021 to 21, and she's groundbreaking. This election really pushed us forward, and when we're entering in another political system, we're in the political time, having her there and having exposure, people saying that I too can make a difference no matter what I am, black, gay, straight, whatever, but I can too make a difference. So shout out to Sarah McBride, and we're going to keep on. She demonstrates and she goes out there and she's making a difference for our transgender brothers and sisters. So we're going to support you. I'm going to put her website in our program notes. So look for that where you know how to support. And the last thing I want to say to this is you don't have to live in the district to send them some money. Support them. So we make sure that there are more people who can do what she's doing. So shout out to Sarah McBride.
Absolutely. I want to talk about something that I spent about 2 hours watching on Sunday, June 29th. I watched a replay of the IOC, the International Olympic Committee's congressional hearing on anti-doping for the Olympics. Ooh. And this was something. I was falling out the bed. Yeah, I was watching it in bed because, trying to get some rest. So the International Olympic Committees and the Anti-Doping Agency, I want to call them out because I think they're making a huge difference. There are a lot of countries that test athletes very differently than other athletes from different countries. And I'll give you an example. Countries like China, smaller countries don't do the standardized tests that they do here in the United States. For example, of that, Michael Phelps and Allison Schmidt, Olympic legends and icons in the world of swimming. Michael Phelps in 1 year was tested 150 times, drug tested 150 times. Another athlete from a smaller country can be tested 30 or 40 times in a year. So how is this right? How is this fair? So I want to call out both the International Olympics Committee and the World Anti-Doping Agency for holding such a important and powerful congressional hearing to call out in the past year. China specifically has 22 athletes that have been banned for doping. 11 of them are currently on the swimming team. They've named them to the Paris Olympics swim team. So there's a lot of issues I think we haven't necessarily heard about in certain sports with the Olympics being less than 30 days away. It's 25 days to opening ceremony, right? So I think they're calling things, as we say, calling things in to say we need to create better processes to make things in equal playing field across the board, regardless of what sport it is. We need equity in these things. So I'm shouting out both of those agencies. And here's what's also interesting. What they all found fascinating. The president of the world of the anti-doping agency for like global didn't show up to this hearing because he knows he's in the wrong for not holding standardized testing for every single athlete in every single country. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Look it up, Google, follow it.
Did you I'm going to say one word, Russia. Anyway, but did you see that documentary? I don't know, Kemit, if you saw the documentary on Clear. It came out of San Francisco. How all these incredible runners that were running, and they were Americans. And from Barry Bonds in baseball to, McGuire baseball to runners and track, they had this thing where they were doping and they weren't being caught. And it was called Clear. Remember that? Yeah. There's a documentary about it. I just saw it.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. I've heard about it too. Like they're like just it doesn't matter what test they're given, it's not gonna signal.
Right.
Yeah.
And as Michael Phelps said, the fact that we were talking about this is his second time testifying at a congressional hearing. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we're still talking about this from 2008, 2012, 2016, and now 2024, and we're still having these types of issues, that means somebody's not doing something right. Mm-hmm. Somebody is not doing something right in terms of policies, procedures, standardizing all of these tests to be equal for everybody. Come on.
What was the cyclist's name that got away with it for years? And I can't remember his name.
Lance Armstrong.
Lance Armstrong. He got away with it for years.
So I heard too that a lot of those cyclists were staying in the exact same. So they talked about this in the congressional hearing. They were staying in the exact same hotel. They all took the exact same bus to get to. So they were doping and doing things in the bus before getting to their competitions. Yes. Trying to hide it and mask it. There's masking agents. See, I learned a lot. Y'all got to watch a congressional hearing sometime. It's so fascinating.
Oh, my goodness. I wish we had more time to talk about this, but we do not. We do not. As we're closing on the show, Kemit, where can people find you? Because you are so incredible. I love what you're doing, and you are one of my heroes and one of my inspirations, especially as we're talking about the Olympics and tennis and all that. And you're doing so much more than that. But where can people find you?
So I'm not young enough to be on TikTok, but you can find me.
I am. I'm on TikTok. I be ticking and talking.
Yes, he does.
Every day I tick and talk. I do.
I'm on Instagram. Kemit_Amon or Kemit-Amon Lewis on Facebook. Were the two easiest ways to find me. It's open. It's a public account. So feel free to add me at Kemit_Amon. That's it on Instagram.
Yes. And we'll put that in our description too, to have people follow you and connect with you, because his story is so amazing and such an inspiration to all of us. So thank you so much for being here with us, brother. Thank you for keeking it up with us on episode Beyond the Pride Celebration.
Yes.
It's good to be back, brother.
And don't forget, y'all, make sure you leave a comment, you subscribe, share the love. Let people know we're out here. We are the best kept secret that people don't know about, that should know about us now. So share the love. And we keep saying about our website is almost done, y'all. Keep it up. Keep it up. Wait, it's gonna rock your world.
We're gonna splash.
And we always say at the end of the show, be kind to people. Why, Terry?
Because it's free.
It's free. All right, y'all. Thank you so much, Kemit, for being with us. And everyone, peace and blessings. And make sure you tune in and tell people about us. Peace, y'all. We love you.
Peace.
Remember to like, share, and leave a comment wherever you listen to your podcast.